Hello, everyone, and welcome to our day early comics review video. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And we're with infinityfluxcomics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every Monday after the comics have been delivered to our store and we're done bagging and boarding them, Andy and I divide up the top 20 books, 10 that I want to read and review, 10 he wants to read and review, and we go over them. We do what we call our spoiler light review. So we're going to tell you major collectability reasons you might want these first appearances, stuff like that. But even more so, we're going to go over what these books are about, what the art styles are like, especially for issue number ones, so that when you go in your comic store, whatever day of the week you do, you will know which books are more for you. All right, so I'd say pretty run-of-the-mill average size week. It's not a huge week. It's not a small week. Pretty normal on the wallet this week. What are you going to start with? I kind of think I know which one you're going to start with.
Yeah, and I would say for myself at least, I have quite a few number ones, which is exciting. You know, I don't feel like there's more books this week, but a lot of them are.
I think you just happened to get a lot of number ones, and I think I only got like maybe one number one.
I was quick to the box to grab them out. But I'm starting off with WorldTr33 number 1.
That's the one I figured you would start with.
So this is by James Tynan and Fernando Blanco. And what is interesting about this, for one, you may have seen us talk about this on the show about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
It made news even before it was officially released because they messed up the printing.
They messed up the printing. So the A cover and one of the incentive covers was too dark. Something happened with the printing, made it where you couldn't hardly see anything on the cover. So they told us to get rid of those and then wait for them to ship us new ones. So that is now here, and I can give it an official review, and you can go out and get it Wednesday. So this is definitely a kind of a modern horror using modern concepts as the scary stuff, which is very scary. So this takes place. I'll tell it a little out of order, but it'll make it make sense. So back in 1999, there was a group of friends who discovered the undernet, and it was the kind of building blocks of the internet. But that's kind of how they describe it, but it's definitely where like the worst of the worst stuff on the internet goes. So much so that it can kind of physically affect you if you see it. Like it's so shocking that it kind of stuns people to even just get a glance at it. So it's kind of a little bit sci-fi, a little bit fantasy on that aspect. But those teens at that time were able to kind of like, because the internet was a lot smaller, could kind of shut it down, contain it. But we jump now to modern times, and something has happened to let it out. And now with the internet so prevalent, it is spreading and kind of corrupting and brainwashing some young people who are on the internet by seeing some things and causing them to do horrific things out in the real world. And that is also what brings in this character you see on the cover, whose name is Fear, which is PH34R. It's kind of her leet speak name. And she definitely seems to be one of the kind of heads on getting this stuff spreading. She wants it to happen to create kind of a new world. So it is a very scary, very dark book, but I feel like the concepts are very interesting to kind of keep it a little bit lighter. It's very adult by violence, and this main character, Fear, she's naked for most of the book. Like that apparently is her thing. You'll have to read it to find out. Not quite sure yet why, but it kind of cements this whole thing as a very mature title, but very good. Highly recommend WorldTr33 number 1. I'm very interested to see where this goes, but it definitely sets up a lot of interesting players in this quest for the undernet. So that was our A cover. We also have, I believe this is the Andrews variant. And we also have, oh, excuse me, that was the Aja variant, And this was one of the other ones that was overly dark. And now seeing it, I mean, it's super creepy. This is the 1 in 25 Sinkowitz variant that we're selling to our customers for
Yeah,
$25.
the misprint. I mean, it just looked sort of like black with a little bit of an eye.
Yeah, it was kind of just a blob. You couldn't quite make it out.
Yeah.
So very cool one there. I think that's going to be a very big one this week.
All right, so I read Doctor Strange issue number 2. This is a new ongoing series by Jed MacKay with Pascal Ferry doing the interior art. We got an Alex Ross cover here. This cover really does show a lot what goes on in this issue. And this issue, while it does link in with a larger overall story that's developing, it's a really good one-shot issue because Doctor Strange, he's back to life and he is Earth's Sorcerer Supreme again. Clea has stuck around though, okay? So they're sort of a team in this book. And in it, Moon Knight goes to them. I keep pulling it up because I want to talk about the cover, but it's taking me a while to get to it. Moon Knight goes to them because there is a girl who is in a coma that he has figured out is magically induced. So Doctor Strange and Clea go into her mind to see what the problem is, what villains are in there, and they unearth levels upon levels of things. You know, it's something that's what you want from a Doctor Strange comic. You know, the
Yeah.
word strange is in it, so it's strange stuff that is beyond what any other superhero could deal with. My favorite thing in this book, though, is it's a lot to do with Doctor Strange and Clea's relationship. I mean, we have like fears physically manifest that attack both of
Mhm.
them. They have to defend each other from each other's fears. You can tell McKay is really getting into sort of like what makes a good relationship. Why are these two so in love with each other? And so that gets to be on display with their magic and heroics as they attempt to save this girl. And it is sort of just ended by the end of the issue, but there is more going on. That's sort of a thread to the rest of the series. So a good one-shot issue. McKay showing once again why he's a good writer, and of course Pascal Ferry doing some excellent art. When you go into a mind, you know it can be anything, and
Yeah.
so your artist has to be really versatile, and it's pulled off very, very well. So here is the variant. This is the Malieve variant to that issue. Also, cool to see Moon Knight in something where he's there, but he can't really help him much. He
Yeah.
really did need Strange and Clea.
It's one of the things I love too when a writer like Jed MacKay is working on Moon Knight and Doctor Strange. He can make that crossover and doesn't have to
Yep.
discuss it with anybody, and it's pretty seamless.
And his Moon Knight's the one you've been hearing in, your head with the whole series you've been reading. So it's that Moon Knight, the
That's
one
yeah.
that's the current Moon Knight talking.
So next up, I have a big one this week. This is Green Arrow #1. Very excited about this one. This is by Joshua Williamson and the art is by Sean Isaacs. And this is going to be, at least as of now, a 6-issue miniseries. But I've got to imagine this is probably already in talks of extending it, much like Poison Ivy
Yeah,
or books
DC's
like
doing a
that.
new thing since Poison Ivy where they kind of say most things are miniseries, but if enough of us like it and buy it and read it, they extend it. So
Yeah.
cast your vote if you love a Green Arrow
I
series of
know
kinds.
Joshua Williamson even mentioned on Twitter somewhere that he was like, I've got plans for it beyond 6 issues if DC allows me to do that. So I think he's probably already kind of primed himself like, I want to make sure I set this up where it can keep going. So this is really cool because you don't have to have read Dark Crisis to understand that Oliver Queen is missing. But when all the heroes got brought back from their kind of make believe worlds of Dark Crisis, they all came back except Green Arrow. Where did he go? That is where you find out right in the beginning. You don't necessarily know, like, oh, this is that place, but you do see where it is, and it is kind of out of character for a place that Green Arrow would be. It's he even makes a note though of like he washes up on a shore and's like, why does this keep happening to me? From all the stories that make him, stranded on an island.
Yep.
It's really funny. But so I'd say half of this book is Green Arrow and where is he and what's going on with him. But I think the biggest kind of selling part of this issue is it's also about his family. We always think of Green Lantern and all the Lantern Corps, the Superman family, the Bat family. Green Arrow has just as big of a family as a lot of the big characters. with characters like Roy Harper, Red Arrow, Black Canary. You have Connor Hawke, his son. You have so many different ones that are all going to be playing a part in this, and maybe some new ones being added to it. You'll have to read this issue to find out. But part of this book is what is his family doing, kind of holding up that, Team Arrow in the city, and some stuff about them wondering where is Oliver. So you'll have to read it to find out what happens, but there is a pretty startling revelation that happens in this issue, a couple of them that really sets the stage for big things to come, not just in this book, but I feel like DC Universe as a whole, there's a lot that's kind of seeded here that's going to be going forward. So another big recommendation this week is for Green Arrow #1.
Of what
And
will hopefully be ongoing.
yes, I'm kind of shocked it wasn't just announced as ongoing, but I think it's kind of
The higher ups at DC, they're like, new Green Lantern book. Is Batman in it? And they're like, well, he could be. And they're like, well, then it might be ongoing.
yeah, yeah. They just want you to beg for it, I guess. We have this David Nakayama cover. Very cool.
That's a great cover.
Green Arrow also does get kind of a new suit in this that's really cool. We have this Frank Cho Black Canary cover. We have this one, very fancy. This is the wraparound foil variant. I'm sure that will be going very fast.
Yeah, that looks great.
And lastly, we have. Oh wait, we got two more. We've got this 1 in 25 Edgecur variant. And we have this really nice 1 in 50 Frank Cho variant, but it's the spot foil on just the image there. And this we are selling for $40.
Okay, maybe my favorite read of the week is Unstoppable Doom Patrol #2 of 6. Again, maybe it can go past that.
Vote
It
with your
depends.
dollars.
Yeah, people like it. I've really enjoyed this. The first issue I reviewed, I thought it was great. The second issue, I like even more. This is a really cool issue. It is written by, Dennis Culver, with art by Chris Burnham. And on it, we have a new character. I mean, you can see him front and center. His name is Worm, but that's not his worm's name. His worm's name is Velvet. And I'm going to tell you straight out. So first appearance of Worm and his worm named Velvet. Velvet is actually the more important first appearance here. So I said it on our abridged video. I'm going to say it again. So a lot of things are going on in this issue. For one thing, the group rescues Worm and they go to their base. The base is called the Shelter. We get a cool 2-page spread where you see the outside, like sort of like an X-ray of what's in all the rooms. I love stuff like that. You can just pause your reading or go back to it later and look through it to see what their Doom Patrol's base is like. So we get that. Meanwhile, Peacekeeper, who is kind of taking the place of Amanda Waller in this, he is trying, like he did in the first issue, he wants to infiltrate the Doom Patrol, and he has a plan to do this. So I won't reveal everything. There are some really good twists in this, but what I will say is not everyone survives this issue. It's pretty shocking ending, and it's going to leave you wanting to read more. So really, if I say too much more, it's just going to ruin the fun of this issue. But Dennis Culver, he promised in multiple emails to retailers, and he went, talked on different podcasts and stuff about how much he is putting into this book. And it turns out that is the truth. This was a really great read. So that's my general review. Of Doom Patrol #2. Chris Burnham's art's great for it as well. Doom Patrol has a lot of weird in it, and he's able to keep up in the art, pretty easily. So here is our variants. We've got the Qua variant, and then there is a 1 in 25 Molina variant we're selling for $15 with Robot Man showing off his jacket while smoking.
He's tough.
Yep.
What I like that DC's doing right now, very subtly, but in a lot of the books, they're really building up Amanda Waller as being one of the biggest threats
I'm
right
glad.
now. I'll say in Green Arrow, there's a little touch of something that Amanda Waller did.
Interesting.
There's a lot of the recent books, Superman, I believe there's been some mention of her. So it's just like laying the groundwork. So when something big happens, you go, oh yeah, I've seen where she's had her fingers in a lot of
She's a great
books.
character because she's complicated.
Yep.
So
Yep. So next up, another really big book this week, Star Wars Darth Vader, Black, White, and Red. So in the style of a lot of Marvel's Black, White, and Red books, they had Wolverine, they had Deadpool. DC's done it with their
Moon Knight.
yeah, Moon Knight's had it, everything. But I feel like, I mean, this is big. Usually Star Wars, they kind of keep separate. It does its own kind of, it has its own variant cover series. It doesn't really cross over with other ones, that
Right.
kind of thing. So for this to get this special mini series, I think is really awesome. This is an oversized first issue. You have 3 stories in it. One of them by Jason Aaron and Leonard Kirk is going to be running through all of them. So it's going to be a little bit bigger of a story. So that one is really interesting. There's a name that is said that has brought Darth Vader to this abandoned mining facility. He's heard talk of a name, and he's going there to find this person. But he ends up finding their son. And what happens there, their son says something, a name of somebody from Vader's past, that Vader's like, how could you know about this? That sends this into a crazy place that I can't wait for people to see because I don't want to give too much away. But Vader is definitely on the outs in this one. There's some pretty horrific stuff that may be happening to Vader. The second story is by Peach Momoko. She writes and draws it. There's no dialogue in it, but it is a kind of a nightmare that a character is having of Darth Vader. I can only assume, I was showing Jason this, maybe kind of a PTSD of an encounter with Vader, or kind of what kind of nightmares Vader instills on people of the galaxy, how they view him. If you haven't seen him in person, what does he look like to you in your imagination? And that is also a very interesting story with very weird takes on classic Star Wars things. I think a lot of people are going to really like,
It,
especially a big last page.
it's Japanese horror art meets Star Wars and Vader in particular.
Yes. Yeah. Kind of a little body horror
Yeah.
type thing. And then, speaking of Tarun Gronbeck, has a story in here as well with Klaus Janson doing the art that is about a very ritzy party taking place that Vader was supposed to come to, but he's not there yet. But when some horrible stuff goes down, Vader shows up to the party late and might have to just deal with the mess that has happened. So really fun first issue. I think a lot of people are going to want this. If you've been reading the Darth Vader book, it's I love the current Darth Vader book, but it is, a continuing story. These are fun to just see one and done stories of Vader just, chewing up the scenery. He comes in and he's going to walk away on top. So recommend for Darth Vader, red, black, white, and red. And it's really cool also, like with the art, to see how they utilize those colors. You think you know exactly what's going to be those colors, but you may be surprised in some where they mix it up. We have a few variants for that as well. So we have the Jim Chung variant. Very cool. And we have the Delato variant. It's always interesting to see how much people just black out Vader's suit versus try to do all the details. Or you can be like Kari Andrews in this 1 in 25, just black it all out with the stormtroopers where you just have to draw their eyes and a couple of the little joint parts. And we are selling this to our customers for $30.
And before we continue, I meant to mention earlier that all these comics that we have here while they're still in stock, are available for sale at infinityflux.net, our website.
Yes.
So if you want to, you can travel over there, and if you hear about one that you like or you see an awesome cover, you can probably buy it right at our website, infinityflux.net. I'll show more links to that at the end. So here I have read Blue Book issue number 3 by James Tynion with art by Michael Oeming. So this one is it has two stories like the other ones had. The first story is a continuation of one they've been doing about the couple who sort of lost time. They were driving down the road and they came to and they had lost time. And since then, it's sort of infected their life. These little flashes of memory, thinking that they see aliens everywhere, men in black types being around, getting different responses from the government. This furthers that story of just anxiety and alien dreams and men in black. The backup story is told in black and white, and each of the blue books have been this way, where the second half is more of like a historically based horror story. Not necessarily like it's true horror, but like, hey, there was a story from history
Yeah.
that this went down, and it's sort of set in the medieval days, and it's very messed up too. Blue Book's good because, comics are a lot of things. When you talk about comic books, right away people think of superheroes. Well, it could be anything. Just like movies can be anything, books can be anything. So I'm glad that James Tynion and Michael Oeming are bringing a whole different flavor to comic books with this for the right people. And the interior art is still in the style that is on the cover here. For the main story, it's done in the black, white, and blue hues. So here we have the Danny variant. And then there is a 1 in 10 Chiang variant we're selling for $10.
That one's really fun.
Yeah, this part in the story is really good and creepy.
Next up, I have Action Comics number 1054. So this doesn't completely wrap up the Metallo story that's been going on since the beginning, but wraps up a major portion of it. So in the last one, we found out that some of Superman's new adoptive kids, they're not quite used to how our world works. And so they see trouble going down. They go full out and put a lot of people at risk by trying to save people. Well, in this one, turns out Metallo is there and he is going to kidnap them. So it's up to Superman to hunt Metallo down to save the kids. Very good kind of final part of that story. But the part that does continue was Metallo working for himself or is someone else behind all of this? You can probably tell by me asking the question that someone else is behind this, and I really like who it is. So you get a great fight scene between Superman and Metallo, and then a big tease for what's coming up next. But with all the Action Comics, you also have other stories in it too. We have a continuation of the Superman and Lois story set back when John Kent was a kid. And in this one, Superman is going up against Doombreaker, the character that was introduced back in that anniversary issue, the four-armed Doomsday. That's very cool. And then we get the start of a new story that is about Steel. It's called Engineer of Tomorrow, and I feel like this is setting up for that new Steel series that's coming out. You're getting a little bit more about him and his Steelworks company, and maybe who is trying to take him down. So, great issue of Action Comics with a lot going on, chock full of story. And then we have some great variants. So, this is the Sandoval variant, Superman with Steel's hammer. We have this one as well. This is the Tulaski variant, and it's called like the workout variant. But with their super strength, it probably is not much of a workout.
All right, so I read Venom Lethal Protector 2, issue number 2. The cover kind of shows quite a bit about this, which is that Venom ends up working for Silver Sable in the Wild Pack. I feel like back when Venom was a new character, when this is sort of set, he was more like snake-like. He'd hide behind
Yeah.
somebody like this and make a face just like that. So it really puts you back in those
More
days.
hissing.
Yeah, yeah, a lot more hissing and what's he gonna do and where's he gonna come out of. But so in this issue, Eddie Brock is offered a lot of money to be a contractor to join the Wild Pack because of how useful Venom was last issue in fighting off Vanguard. So it's funny because Eddie, of course, is like, nah, I don't, do this just for money. Well, it's like the Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase used to say in wrestling: everybody has a price. So read on to see what that is. And of course, Eddie Brock, honestly, it doesn't just come down to money. He has good reasoning
Hmm.
for it too. So the other thing in this issue, it introduces a few other Spider-Man villains are in this. Cardiac is in this.
Oh, he's a character you don't see too
Yeah, you
often.
really don't. And Cardiac actually sort of joins them because they all have to go up against not just Vanguard but the Vulture. And lastly, the last thing I'll say is that Vulture is not working just for himself. Usually he's the guy at the top. No,
Yeah.
there's somebody above him, and I won't tell you who it is, but it's a major Fantastic Four villain. So another villain thrown in where it's like, wow, you were, fighting Venom back in these days.
Oh,
But that's why they're doing a story from those days.
yeah.
They want to make it interesting. So a lot of stuff going on in this. This, of course, is by David Michelini with art by Fareed Karami. And here we have the Ruin variant to that.
Ooh, she's about to get ruined.
This does not happen in this issue. Maybe next issue.
Is it Old Man Vulture or is it the
It's
young?
Old Man
Okay.
Vulture.
I
Yeah.
know that's right around the time that new Vulture came in and
Yep.
stuff, but okay, another new number one this week is a new Alien number one. And I will say I really enjoyed this new Alien number one. So this is by Declan Shalvey, who was a fantastic artist. He actually did one of the variant covers, and Andrea Bruchado. And I'll say the art style in this is it's hard to say this without it coming across a certain way, but it's a little bit more animated. Now, not in the sense of like everybody looks like Bugs Bunny, but it's more animated. Like if you think of an artist like Mirka Andolfo or somebody like that, it has a little bit more, stretch to it than your average, which I think is really a fun change from the last one to a very serious, realistic art. Now, in this, if the last series was more like Aliens with Space Marines and that kind of thing, this is definitely more in line with the first Alien with isolation horror. So this is set in 2195, and as people expand into the stars, one of the big resources they look for is water. So we meet a family whose job is to go to planets and try to find pockets of water. So this family goes to a moon that is all ice, and what do you know, as they're digging for it, they find something frozen in the ice. It looks kind of like something that would grab onto your face.
And give it a
Big
big
hug.
hug, a big bear hug.
Yes. So poor decisions are made all around. And even warns in this what happens when humans get somewhere, things start to thaw out. And you can get a little hint of that. So it's very much like the isolated facility. There is the Wayland Corporation that is brought into this as well, but you can tell things are going to start defrosting and go very dark very fast. But very good issue of Alien, sets up a lot of very interesting storylines. And I like we haven't, usually the ice, they kind of did that with Predator. We don't see that too often with Alien, but very cool there. This is the Declan Shalvey variant. That is your rider. You get a big hint right there of what happens in this issue. And this is the Alex Maleev variant. When people see this in person, it has a really cool texture to it. It's almost kind of like color pencil type look to it. And then we also have this 1 in 25 Delato variant. We're selling for $25.
All right. I read Detective Comics issue number 1071. We're that far past issue 1000 now. 1071. That is awesome. So this, of course, is by Ram V. It actually has 3 different artists on it, and I think it's like 5 different inkers.
Wow.
A lot of people on this. Of course, there's an A story and then there's the B story. And the other reason it has multiple artists is because this is a Batman book that has like less Batman in it than you would normally get, and it's because Rambeau has a lot of story to tell. So this starts out with Batman, but eventually he runs into Talia, and Talia tells him a story that is most of the comic, which has to do with a lost city and society, which is where the Orgums are from. And also, guess what? The Al Ghuls are a part of that as well. So it's not just like, 2 pages. It's
Yeah.
not her just telling it in dialogue. I mean, you go back and there is a lot of story that is told in a whole different art style about this lost city and about the blood feud behind the Orgums and the Al Ghuls. So a lot of catch up, a lot of old world building, I
Hmm.
would call it, in this issue of Detective Comics. As far as variants, we have the Rice variant. Then we have the Jones variant. And there is a 1 in 25 Fiumara variant we're selling for $20.
She gives back massages a very weird way. Okay, next up, I have a book I have thoroughly been enjoying. This is The Ambassadors #3. This is from Mark Millar, and this time the art is Travis Charest. So love that each issue is a different artist. It gives each story kind of its own flavor. So in this one, we meet a very troubled kid in Paris. It says he's bullied, but not by bullies, by like Warhammer kids. Like even the nerds are bullying this kid. Is very low and gotten him to a very dark place. Um, but from that, he has a mom that is very concerned about him, but also she's a single mom trying to take care of this kid. His dad is a famous movie director, which has I feel like that part was only brought in to tell a really good joke about trying to reboot a Superman movie. The guy has some ideas for a Superman movie that he says, I think the real interesting thing is how is a newspaper company running in the modern world? We're going to focus on the Daily Planet. It's just a great joke about superhero movie reboots. But what happens when the mom gets chosen to be the superhero of France? Is a very interesting because she gets to take her son along is almost like a Robin sidekick. And I feel like this it starts off you're like, "Oh, this is going to go really bad for this kid." But actually, I think this is a really good story in um kind of what can change a way a kid thinks and positive enforcement and uh given opportunities to express himself, like being a new sidekick and stuff can change his mindset and his whole life. It's a very, I wouldn't say heartwarming issue, but it's a very nice issue to read, and I'm really looking forward to we're getting into a little bit more of the overarching story in this as well, with a little bit of it in the end. So that is Ambassadors #3, and we have a Charest variant for that one. They also have this really cool supercar they fly around in saving people.
All right, I read Mary Jane and Black Cat, issue #5. This is the finale of the miniseries. It is by Jed McKay with art by Vincenzo Carratù. And so Mary Jane and Black Cat, they've been stuck in limbo. They've had to get this soul sword for the demon Belasco, who is the only person who can send them back to Earth from limbo. But the problem is they got to the sword, but if anyone touches it, it fuses with you permanently to where Belasco is basically going to have to kill you to take it. So how do they get it to him? They have to hatch a plan that only Black Cat and Mary Jane would ever hatch. It's a great scheme. I like the ending to this, but I can't say more than that. It would just give it away. But it does have a very cool finale for this awesome miniseries. And we got one variant to show you. This is the Durzo variant. I like that. Two sides of the card, but one's a Joker, the other the Queen.
That's cool. Okay, one that is why we do the show is so we can kind of tell you a little bit more about some of these books. This is Guardians of the Galaxy, Bane of Blastaar. I was trying to read on the screen and I could not read it. Bane of Blastaar. So, what is this? This is a one shot. I feel like that's always a hard thing with Marvel. They don't always flat out tell you when something's a one shot. You never know if it's a mini series, whatever. This is by Ralph Macchio and David Tinto, and I feel like this is another one of the books that they put out as being a great companion to an upcoming movie. So if you know somebody or you haven't ever read Guardians of the Galaxy, but you like the movies or you're excited about the new movie and you're like, I want to read something, but where do I jump into it? You know, there was a new Guardians of the Galaxy book that just started, but it's kind of a certain take on the Guardians. You know, Groot's not necessarily in it. The character's a little bit different. This gives you a way more classic look at the Guardians, including Nova is in this as well. And it's a pretty, I don't want to say a simple story, but Blastaar, who is from the negative verse, decides he's going to take over the Milky Way galaxy in the regular universe. But he rules with an iron fist, and a lot of his servants don't like him. So one sneaks off to go tell the Guardians, hey, Blastaar is on his way. I want you guys to prepare to take him on. And so you just get a really fun adventure with the Guardians plus Nova. You've got Mantis, Drax, Rocket, Groot, Gamora, Star-Lord, the whole gang as they take on Blastaar. And I thought it was a really fun one shot. I thought the art was really good. It wraps up really well. Where does it fit in the timeline? Kind of doesn't really matter. It's just one of the many adventures of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So if that sounds like something you're into, you just want more Guardians of the Galaxy, you like Star-Lord when he doesn't wear a shirt under his jacket, this is for you. We also have some variants for this as well. It didn't sneak by without any variants. We have the Manahini variant. And we have the Marvel Anatomy variant, this time with Groot.
All right. I read Harley Quinn, issue number 29. This is by the relatively new creative team of Teeny Hauer and Sweeney Boo. I really like Sweeney Boo's art on this. It's just it fits nicely. She's done covers I've appreciated for years and years, and great to see her doing art on such a somewhat naughty character
Yeah.
that Harley Quinn is. She's a hero, but she's naughty about it. So in this, Harley she needs access to the multiverse. Okay, so she goes to Zatanna, which, you know, big surprise, she's right on the cover. Their interaction is just funny. I mean, some of reading a Harley book is sitting back and just enjoying her character and what she says and how she goes about things. She can make she can make ordering food at a fast food place an interesting scene if written correctly. So, of course, her scene with Zatanna is really good. But what ends up happening is Zatanna tells her through other things that she has to sacrifice something. That magic isn't that simple, and I mean like a living thing that she cares about. Well, that's not an easy thing even for Harley. You know, she is not a heartless character. If anything, she has like too much heart when it comes to living things, especially things she likes. Um, so she seeks out some advice. And who does she go to for advice? Well, she goes to Gotham's Cape Crusader. And you'll have to see the advice he tries to give. You'll have to see if she takes any of that advice or does her own thing. And the last thing I'll leave you with is at the end of this, it has a really weird ending that has to do with Harley's hyenas. And no, it's not a sacrifice. It's something real weird and real bizarre that made me laugh a little bit. So another cool issue with the new team on Harley Quinn.
I noticed, I flipped through that issue. It also had that thing where she does multiple art styles.
Yep.
The beginning and the end, kind of, I mean, very versatile.
And I didn't even get to that. Yeah, the art, there's a B story that Sweeney Boo does that has more to do with the hyenas. That's in a whole different style, like Andy was saying.
It's very cool.
Yeah, Sweeney Boo's really putting a lot into this, you can tell. And here is the Frizen variant.
It's just a good schoolgirl.
Yep. A good psych teacher. And here is the 1 in 25 Hetrick variant we're selling for $25.
People love the classic Harley.
Yep.
Next up for me is another one-shot. So this is Star Wars High Republic Adventures Quest of the Jedi. This is from Claudia Gray and Fico Ossio, who's an artist I really like. He worked on Aquaman for a little bit. And this is really cool. So if you've read the novel Star Wars Path of Deceit, it does follow that up a little bit, but you haven't had to have read it to get that. It's just really nice that it still feels like all the High Republic stuff is very interlocked and it all flows really nice. So in this, we meet, there's a bunch of first appearances in this. We meet Aslan, a Jedi who is looking into the death of a character that died in the novel. And what that character was going after was this ancient force gem. So he is going to look into that story a little bit further, and he goes to the Jedi archives, and that's where we kind of get the bigger story. It kind of flashes back to this story where we meet two new Jedi. There's Master Barnabas Vim and Jedi Vix Phonic, who is their apprentice, and they are going to a planet because there's been kind of a distress thing happening. The planet was thriving, but now it's slowly decaying, and they go there to find out that the gem that they have, it is called the something Echo, is failing. The Echo Stone is failing, and they're finding out why. And very interesting story. There's a lot of twists and turns to it. That is it the Echo Stone that's causing things to be good or causing it to be bad. And the other thing is we get the mention. I think this is the big part when people talk about first appearances or mentions. A new Darth character is brought up that we have never heard of. Apparently, this stone was put on this planet to hide it from a character named Darth Ravi.
So not in this, but mentioned.
Not in this, but
So
mentioned.
maybe next issue.
And that's kind of a big thing. Is the name the title Darth is not thrown around as lightly as Jedi Master or Jedi Knight or Apprentice or anything. A Darth is a very specific line of dark side Force users, very high up, powerful ones. So I thought that was really interesting. This is just a one shot, but they don't just drop names in there for nothing.
Okay, I forgot that was the one.
Yeah, so probably maybe 5 or 6 first appearances of characters who are named, and you do learn quite a bit about them. And even how the issue ends, it does say the end, but it still feels like there's more to this story that we'll probably be getting at some point.
But no question mark.
No question mark, but you'll have to read it to find out. But I could see this story continuing maybe in another one shot or something like that. So that is Quest of the Jedi one shot. And we have, this is your interior artist. The art is fantastic in it. This is the Ossio variant.
All right. I read Thor issue number 33, and this is by, before I say that, about the cover, not much of this happens on the cover except that Doom is in it. You get a good Doom versus Thor fight. I would say that was probably my favorite part of this issue. So this is by Torrin Gronbach with art by Juan Gideon. And first off, we get to see some of Doom's plan. We don't get to see it all, but we do get to see how evil he is because he's turning souls into fuel.
Ooh.
That's part of his plan. But as I said, probably the best part is we get to see a fight between Thor and Doom where Thor throws the hammer at Doom and Doom tries to use all of his powers, both technological and magic, to try to grab the hammer. And we get to see sort of if that works or if it doesn't and where that goes. So that's a little snippet of what Thor issue number 33 is about. Here is the brown variant.
Very cute.
And we have another Alex Ross timeless variant. This one, Loki. Looking very evil. Like he was definitely going with that Loki from the first Avengers.
Yeah.
Avengers number 1 Loki.
Yeah, classic. Okay, next up, I have the finale issue of Sins of Sinister, or kind of the wrap up of the 1,000 years in the future story. So this is Sins of Sinister Dominion. And I will start out by saying, if you haven't been reading Sins of Sinister, there is no need to pick this one up because you got to be, both feet in the water to understand what's going on in this one. So I won't get into too much detail, but I will say the things I really liked about this. So first, it's by Gillen and Paco Medina. Artwork is beautiful. Kieran Gillen definitely knows this story he's crafting, and you can really see how all the pieces are now coming together. But what I'm happy to say is it does have ramifications outside of, it takes place 1,000 years in the future. Well, how does that affect current X-Men stuff? There is like tangible things that happen in the main continuity that is affected by this story. So I really like that. It's not just a what if story. Also, even some characters do carry over, but what's really interesting is how the X-Men take the information they've learned from the Sins of Sinister story, and what does that make them do in the present? Like, if you know that you've got Sinister, he's bad. We all know that. But then Emma Frost was taken over by Sinister. She got the diamond on her forehead and everything. Well, what do you do with her if you know she is capable of doing this? You start passing judgment before the crime was committed. And I think we're definitely getting into what really makes the fall of X-Men that's coming up, the fall of X. We're seeing big threads for that playing out here. And it is an oversized issue, so you get a lot of story here. Also have some great variants, including one of my favorite Alex Ross timeless variants, the Apocalypse variant. Just love those glossy, shiny lips. Very fun. We also have this 1 in 25 Laraz variant of all the Sinisters that we're selling to our customers for $20.
Okay, I read Avengers Beyond, issue number 2. This is by the Land Boys. That is Derek Landy and Greg Land doing interior art.
That's a little bit of a stretch, but I get it.
Yep. So in this issue, so we've learned from last issue, the Beyonder has been sort of bothering the Avengers. He calls it training them from afar and against their will. Well, we learn, what is he training them for? He's training them because there's an even more powerful force than the Beyonders. It's like, where will the powerful forces end? But this force is called the Lost One. That was introduced last issue, and the Beyonder needs the Avengers' help to try to stop them. Well, the emissary of this Lost One came into last issue. This issue, we get to see how 4 different Avengers kind of deal with this information. Some of them are preparing, some of them are researching. Well, Janet Van Dyne Wasp, she gets attacked by a very close friend who is taken over by the emissary of the Lost One. A lot of this is her issue, and there's a pretty brutal battle with her having to deal with this character who is otherwise her friend. So that's a lot of what is going on. Greg Land's art in it is great, of course. So that's what's up with Avengers Beyond, issue number 2. And here is the U variant for that.
That's cool. Variant. My last one for today is Hulk number 14. So yes, this is the final issue of this run on Hulk. Finally find out the big battle between Hulk and Titan. And I will say everything is wrapped up. There's a great letter at the end by Ryan Otley, who has to, you can tell, talks about when the story was left on his plate after Donny Cates left, and basically like, I hope you like how I wrapped it up. So I thought he did a great job given the level of responsibility he was given to finish off this very big story.
I wonder if he didn't secretly call up his friend, Robert Kirkman, and go, does this sound good?
Yeah, hey, I would do that for sure. But the art is great in it, and I'll say everything is pretty much wrapped up. but there's a fun, like, last page teaser for something that you'll have to read and interpret for yourself what it might mean. So always teasing the last little bit and getting ready for the new series coming up in just a couple of weeks. So that was our A cover by Otley. We also have our Nick Klein cover, who I believe is your new artist on the series for the new run. We have a Scotty Young variant. It's nice to see that the two can just talk through their differences. And lastly, we have another Alex Ross Timeless variant, this time with Abomination.
Okay, my last one is a facsimile. I just want to make you guys, oops, not a facsimile.
Already in that
Wow.
one?
It is Strange Tales, issue number 178. So this is the issue that has the first appearance of Magus, who is the evil version of Adam Warlock, and the Universal Church with its leader, the Matriarch. So if you want some more Adam Warlock stories that are integral to his character, here's your chance to purchase the facsimile of that before Guardians of the Galaxy 3 launches, or even better, because he's a major comic character.
Yeah.
So,
And I'll say, I read that issue, the Warlock issue, that
the
came
number
out.
one,
The number
Warlock
one,
Reborn.
Warlock Reborn. Highly recommend that.
Yeah,
That was a
wasn't that
great
cool?
issue.
Yep. Eve Warlock is scary.
Yeah. So pick up this and pick up that. You got yourself some good Adam Warlock stuff.
There you go. Okay, so that is, I did 20 books. Andy did 20 or 10 books. He did 10 books. We did 20 total and their variants and incentives, but that's not all that's out this week. So we're going to just go ahead and announce the rest of the books out this week, starting with Betsy Braddock. Captain Britain #3 is out
Trying
this
to do
week.
an accent and yeah. Captain America Symbol of Truth #12.
Clobberin Time, issue 2.
Deadpool #6.
Dungeons and Dragons Saturday Morning Adventures #2, which I will be reading later for sure.
Yep, we also have Invincible Iron Man #5.
Miracleman Marvel Tales, which is a big, thick book of reprint stuff from Miracleman's comic past.
We have Monica Rambeau Photon #5.
Rocket Raccoon also gets a Marvel Tales. Yeah, that seems like they're stepping on each other's coattails a little bit there.
We have Star Trek #7.
Strange Academy Finals, issue #6. Another one. Too many books for me to read this week.
Yep. A lot of Ninja Turtles this week. We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #139.
The Armageddon Game #7.
And a big one, TMNT The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, #1 Director's Cut.
And issue #3 of The Lost Years. That's another one that I was like, if we were just doing a show to review every book out, that would have been on my list for sure.
We also have Wasp #4.
Blue Beetle Graduation Day #6. The final issue is out this week.
DC Ruby #3.
Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods ends with issue #4.
I also have Sandman Universe Dead Boy Detectives #5.
Tim Drake Robin issue #8 is out.
Black Tape #3.
Dead Romans issue #2.
One that I'm excited to read, Gargoyles #5.
Grimm issue #10. That's probably the first one I did not review on this show. I'm definitely still reading it, but we're 10 issues in. I needed, we sometimes have to go over the things that we think people are just now deciding if they're getting into or not.
Another one I'm excited about, Image 30th Anniversary Anthology #12 of 12, which features that Science Dog story that I've been excited about reading.
Indigo Children #2. I like #1, but I wanted even more. That issue #2 hopefully is going to deliver on that.
Another one that's a big one, Local Man #3. Excited to read that one.
Lovesick issue #7.
That's the final issue of that. So, big one. We have Spawn Scorched #17.
Vanish issue #6.
We have What's the Furthest Place from Here #12.
Riddler Year 1 issue #4. Paul Dano, he's still showing off his writing chops.
Yeah.
Or at least acting like he has them.
Oh, calling Paul Dano out. And Daredevil #10.
So yeah, it's a very big week. A lot of comics this week. That's just how things have fallen. That's why we had to eventually at some point limit the show. So 10 a piece, and then we just talk about the other ones a little bit. So thank you very much. And remember, if you're looking for a place to purchase these very comics we went over today, head on over to infinityflux.net, our website, which is so great, easy to use. You can purchase these books or you could sign up for a subscription where if you pre-order anything, you get 10% off, whether it's an ongoing book or just a cover that you want. So that's infinityflux.net. Thank you very much. We'll be back on Friday with our 10 comics in a flash show and comics from the future. So many shows we do now.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe and we will see you next time.